thought this could be an interesting idea for a video. If you're a fan of this channel, you know, I basically nonstop talked about Aidan Hutchinson and how good I think he is, but let's maybe shift gears a little bit, because a lot of times what I like to do with young players is spend less time focused on how good I think they will be in the future and more just about how good have they been, because, you know, I think that's kind of the more interesting thing. If we can figure out how good a player is, then we can have the discussion at the end of the video of how good will they be. And while that's still kind of what I'm going to be doing here, I really want to put the emphasis on how good can he be. That's going to be this video, is not necessarily just how good is he right now, but what's his ceiling and where do I think he will end up being? Can he be the elite edge rusher? Can he be one of the top 5 edge rushers in football? Or is he kind of going to be very good, but maybe not quite on that level? Well, if we look at his Pro Football Focus grades, I think these are always a good way of just kind of giving a measurement of where he's at, you know, right now. It's interesting because he wasn't necessarily dominant in terms of PFF grades at either run defense or pass rush. He was 39th in run defense and 41st in pass rush, but those two combined meant that he was 21st overall. Also had very good coverage stats, you know, with all those interceptions, but you know, 21st overall definitely is a very impressive season for a rookie already to be a, you know, top 25 pass rusher in football. Definitely makes you wonder, well, yeah, I mean, you know, if he continues to get better, he should continue to grow and be great. But again, it doesn't always work that way, right? Some players come into the league and really struggle right away, but then become the best player at their position at a certain point. Some players enter the league and are good or solid, and then they just stay that way for the rest of their career, right? You know, so like Josh Allen versus Baker Mayfield, right? Mayfield plays well as a rookie, but then kind of just stays that way, and actually probably took a step back, so maybe not the best example, whereas Josh Allen really struggled, but then got better. So just because you know, Hutchinson had a really good rookie year does not guarantee he will continue to be that way. But here's another thing I find fascinating. If you look at his individual Pro Football Focus grades per game, you see that he really, while it's definitely not going to be a complete, consistent, you know, getting better every single game type of thing, he definitely got better as the season went along. I mean, in the, you know, the last 5 games, he had one grade of 57.4, and then the other 4 were, you know, 77.4, 83.4, 90.1, and 91.5 in those 5 games. He definitely had his best stretch of football towards the end of the season, which gets you optimistic to say he is getting better as a player. Let's watch some film and talk about what he can do and what he was able to do to get better. And one of the things is, again, one of the things I loved about him so much is how he has every move in his arsenal. His hands and his footwork is what makes him so incredible. Obviously, he's the great athlete, but, you know, he has the other things, because, again, you know, all 3 of those edge rushers that were drafted in the same time period of the you know, Trayvon Walker, who was just, you know, an absurd athlete, one of the best athletes at the position we've ever seen, Kayvon Thibodeau and Hutchinson were all great athletes, but the reason why I liked Hutchinson the best is because of his technique. And watch what he's going to do on this play. Watch him sort of fake as though he's going towards the outside, but then moves towards the inside, gets that left hand up, and you look at this tackle and how out of position he's in. You know, we talk about athleticism, but that only gets you so far. Footwork and hands are kind of what gets you in position to then take advantage of the footwork, of the athleticism, of the just pure speed, and of the strength. Obviously, an element of hands and footwork is going to still be athleticism, but you get the point. Whereas right now, if you're trying to block Hutchinson from this point, what can you do? Nothing. Looked like he tried to hold on, but it didn't matter. Hutchinson still got to Rodgers for the sack right there. So it's not great when you hold and still give up a sack, typically. Really good stuff there from Hutchinson, I thought. And these are the kind of things that he just was able to do more and more consistently as the season went along. So while I think some people would look at something like this and say, well, yeah, but this is kind of the issue with Hutchinson, right? He's already good, so good technique-wise. His hands are already so good. His footwork is already so good. There's not a ton of room for him to grow. Someone like, say, Trayvon Walker say what you want about him, has plenty of room to grow in those departments. And the fact that he does is in many ways a good thing because he could continue to grow there. Whereas Hutchinson maybe doesn't have those areas where he can improve. Well, there's several things you could talk about with it. I mean, for one thing, I'd rather just the guy who can do that stuff than the guy who has to learn that stuff regardless. But the other aspect is that it's not a one-for-one thing. Just because you have good technique doesn't mean your technique can't still get better because it's a consistency thing, right? It's how often do you win? And as long as Hutchinson is winning consistently, well, that's kind of what matters, is how consistent can you win, and his consistency can still go up even though he's already pretty consistent. Also, something like this is another great example of just how he can win. I kind of said, I remember coming out of college, I sort of described him as the kind of guy who can win in a phone booth, right? He doesn't need a ton of space to win. And, the Lions have taken advantage of that by having him play on the inside at times as well. But this time, not on the inside, as a pure edge rusher, and kind of watch what he's going to do. So right off the bat, he's going to take a, sort of step to the side, and it's going to be his hands once again that allow him to really succeed. The right tackle, the most important part for him is going to be his right hand, right? Something I talk about a lot is that the right tackle, their most important thing is their right hand. Their left tackle, that's that most important thing is going to be the left hand. I didn't invent that. That's just something that exists. But watch what's going to happen here. Watch how he just swipes that hand away to where he gets towards the edge. Rodgers had already gotten rid of the football, so it didn't matter. But if Rodgers didn't get rid of the football, Hutchinson certainly could have had a chance to get there. And honestly, I do think that could be a big advantage for Hutchinson this next season, is just with a secondary that should be improved. Everyone talks about it for some reason only one direction of how pass rushers help out the secondary, but the secondary helps out the pass rushers. The quarterback holds on to the ball longer if no one is open, and that can result in more sacks, and I could see that happening with Hutchinson. This one's another example, just a quick thing of it's not even going to really end up mattering too much, but one-on-one matchup against the right tackle. And actually, there's a guard in the area who he can block whoever he wants. He's sort of whoever seems to be needing the most help, that's where he gets over and helps. And watch Hutchinson very quickly gets over and basically forces the guard to help him. Ball comes out quickly. Again, no chance at getting the pressure there, but really good stuff from Hutchinson. And the hands and the footwork are what make him so good. And these aren't happening every play, but they could be happening on more plays as he continues to get better at this stuff. I don't see him as a guy who is, going to kind of plateau at this point. How good do I think he can be? I don't see why he can't be as good as anybody else in football. That's his ceiling. Will he reach his ceiling? Who knows? It's impossible to say. It just is. But is he that good? Yes, he is that good. He is a spectacular player and has the incredible ceiling that I think that I do think he has an incredible ceiling. I really do. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on Hutchinson and how good I think he can get throughout the course of his career, and also where I think he's at right now. What do you think? How good can Hutchinson get? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.